Hi everyone, and welcome to day 1 of 7 days of hypermobile core strength. My name is Eva and I am super excited to get this 7-day program kicked off. But first, if you have not watched the introductory video that's 3.5 minutes long before starting this program, I highly encourage you to click the link that's either here or down in the description and just spend 3.5 minutes watching that intro video, because it is going to help you so much just in being successful over these next 7 days and give you some insights on how to effectively use this program. So if you haven't watched it yet, go do that now, and I'll see you back here in 3.5 minutes. If you have watched it, welcome. And we are going to get started on day 1 with one of the most foundational skills when it comes to effectively activating and accessing your core: breath work. Now, breath work for some may seem really simple, but for a lot of hypermobile people, breath work is actually really challenging for a number of reasons. First of all, because hypermobile people often get into a pattern that is called bracing. Being hypermobile is kind of stressful. Sometimes it kind of hurts. And so our bodies will react in this way that kind of is counterintuitive to what hypermobility is. We're usually so loose and goosey, but because that's stressful to the body often reacts kind of by going, and everything gets tightened up. And then we actually have restricted access to our breath patterns, particularly in the diaphragm and particularly through the rib cage. So today we're just going to go through a couple of really foundational breathwork sequences that are going to help open up some of those spaces again, try to get you a little bit more access to the diaphragm, which is a big breath muscle right here, try to get you a little bit more patterned through the rib cage so everything moves just nice in synchronicity. You are really not going to need any equipment today except some space to lay down on the floor. However, if you need any braces or supports while you lay down on the floor, I encourage you to go grab them now. This might be a roller for underneath your knees or like a neck rest or something like that. Go ahead and grab your tools. I am not going to use any supports today because I'm on a really nice thick mat. So I'm going to just dive on in, going flat on my back. Join me down here whenever you're ready. And you are welcome to extend your legs. I'm going to start with my feet planted on the floor because I just feel a little bit more comfortable here. And just breathe, you guys. Spend a couple of minutes just settling in. Don't worry about how you're breathing or, whatever. Just kind of let yourself rest into the floor and just breathe naturally. And while we start this, I want you guys to start taking note of where your body is laying on the ground. Feel the back of your head against the floor. Feel the backs of your ribs and shoulders. Check in with your mid and low back, with your hips. If your legs are long, just see how everything is connecting to the floor. And take note if maybe something's feeling a little uneven or a little off kilter. Don't worry too much right now about making any big adjustments. And we are going to dive into our first breath sequence. So to start this, I want to see about getting us some breath down into the diaphragm. And one way I really like to do this is with tactile feedback. So we're going to use our hands. Now our diaphragm is basically located kind of like right underneath the lowest ribs. So I want you guys to take your hands and wrap them just underneath the rib cage, kind of where your waistline is. Your index fingers and all the rest of your fingers are going to be in front. Your thumbs will wrap around the back. And now, as you inhale, I want you to try to send some breath into your fingers. So you're going to inhale through the nose and exhale however feels good to you. And as you guys cycle through this breath, I'm going to give you some cues here. First and foremost, if breathing into your fingers is hard, that's okay. Give it a couple tries. Try not to force breath down. Really just try to think about where your thumbs are connected, where your fingers are connected, and breathe almost so you can feel your diaphragm expand underneath your fingertips. And then when you exhale, everything kind of softly decompresses. Let's go again. Inhale into the fingertips, into the thumbs. And then exhale. Let everything kind of decompress. And maybe you start with some small breaths. Maybe it's feeling really sticky, and that's okay. Let's give it maybe 5 more breaths. We'll do this together. Inhale. And exhale. And again, inhale. Feel the expansion of the diaphragm. And exhale. I'll tell you right now, my right side is having a harder time expanding into my fingers. So let's try again. Inhale. Nice. And exhale. As you breathe, relax your jaw, relax your throat. Let's go 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Let's go 1 more. In breath into the fingers. Expand like a balloon. And exhale. Beautiful, beautiful job, guys. Alrighty. So hopefully it was a little bit easier by the end to send the breath a little bit lower. Now, I'm going to give you guys some different cues. We're going to breathe into the back of the body. So it's very common in like belly breathing to cue breathing up and into the front of the body. And that's a very important skill. But oftentimes, especially when hypermobile muscles are kind of restricting you and locking your movements into place, we actually lose access to breath in the back of the body. So I want to retrain this pattern with you guys with a couple of cues. Letting your hands just rest where they feel most comfortable. You guys are going to inhale into the back of the upper rib cage. Inhale between your shoulder blades. And then exhale. Let it soften and let your shoulder blades and ribs sink into the mat. And let's go again. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. Breathing it out. Let's go again. Into the upper back, nice and soft. Relax your neck, relax your jaw. Make any shifts or adjustments you need to. Let's go 1 more. In breath. And out breath. 1 more to the upper back. In breath to the shoulder blades, to the back of the ribs. And out breath. Now we're going to send that breath a little lower. Breathe down into your mid-back. Send the breath through the shoulder blades, straight down to the mid-back. And then exhale. That is where things get a little stickier for me in my mid-back. So let's try again. In breath. And out breath. Try to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. Again, in breath. Let's go 1 more. In breath. And out breath. Now we're going to send the breath all the way down to the lower back. Get ready. In breath. All the way down the spine. all the way into the back, and then out breath. Again, in breath. And out breath. Let your body make any shifts or adjustments or shimmies that it needs to. As I breathe into my low back, I have a lot of stuff happening in my pelvis, so my hips are a little shimmy. And out breath. Through this breath, we're opening up a lot of tissue that might have been restricted, so we want to let that happen. Let's go 2 more in breath. And out breath. 1 more in breath. Softening the face, softening the jaw. And out breath. Beautiful job, guys. All right. Let's go back into that diaphragmatic breathing now, that first breath pattern that we did. And I want to go into some slightly more tempoed breathing. So this time we're going to inhale through the nose for 3. We're going to exhale for 4. Now you can exhale through the nose or the mouth. I'm not going to be super picky today. But let's take your hands back around the waist, just kind of underneath the rib cage. Fingers in front, thumbs in back. And let's inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Now cycle through that tempo, guys. It doesn't have to be a perfect 3 and 4 count, so long as you're elongating the exhale just a little bit. And as you cycle through that breath, I want to remind you guys that this is not about clamping down your core muscles, okay? I want you guys to elongate that breath, maybe feeling a little bit of activation through the midsection, but trying not to clamp into the pelvic floor, into the abdominal muscles, and making everything really tight and restricted. So let's go again. Inhale for 3, 2, breathing into the fingers. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 2 more rounds. Inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3. I'm going to do 1 more. Inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, and relax. Beautiful job, guys. Relax for a moment on the floor. I want you guys to now check in with where your body is connected to the mat. Check in to see if anything feels different than when we first started. Those spaces that were maybe feeling a little uneven or disconnected, are they resting on the mat any more than they were? How is your body feeling compared to when we first started? Take a couple just normal breaths. When you guys are ready, you can roll yourself up to seated, however feels good to you. Make sure you do it slow and steady because we were just horizontal for a good long while. I'm gonna let the blood flow redistribute. I have no problem telling you that by the end there, it was interesting, my legs were shaking and it was cool. I wasn't using any supports today. But I know my adductors, my inner thighs, and all those kind of little supporting muscles do a lot of overworking in order to stabilize my pelvic floor. And I know that has a lot to do with my own breath stickiness. So it was cool to feel that kind of like shakiness in the body, to really feel my body being like, oh hey, like other stuff is being kicked on now, so we can kind of chill in other areas of the body. And that is really the power of breath work. I will say, breath work when you're first starting is not always super comfortable, which is so funny because breath is such a natural thing, but it's not always super easy. It's not always super comfortable, especially if you are hypermobile and have just been stuck in like a fight or flight reaction or a stress reaction for a long time, which is the case for many of us. So if today felt challenging, if today felt like, man, I didn't quite open up to the depth that I wanted to, I encourage you to come back to this video and just start here. Day 2, we are going to build in a little bit more actual intentional core activation through just a little bit of movement, and we're going to use this breath sequence. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be very interesting just in terms of incorporation. But I hope you guys are feeling good. I hope you are feeling like you have a little bit more access to your breath. Hopefully a little bit less out of your shoulders and neck. But with that being said, I am going to log off for the day, and I will see you for day 2.